Good afternoon, all. Thank you very much for joining us. It is afternoon. Thank you for joining us this afternoon. I'd like to start by acknowledging the traditional owners of the land on which we meet and pay my respect to elders past and present. I extend that respect to any Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people who are in the room with us today. It is my pleasure to welcome you here to Beth Wiseman and to introduce the Minister for Multicultural Affairs, Mental Health and Ageing, Ingrid Stitt. As the newly announced Minister for Multicultural Affairs since October 2023, feels very recent, we're thrilled to welcome the Minister to Beth Wiseman this afternoon, the home and the hub of Jewish and Zionist life in Melbourne. Minister Stitt is a proclaimed proud Melburnian who has spoken of her vision of Victoria as the best place in the world. Certainly in recent weeks, we've seen our multicultural community here in Melbourne stretched and challenged. We've seen division, we've seen hate. But we, the representative bodies of the Jewish and Zionist community, we remain hopeful and we also remain determined to work with you, to work with the government and to work with the broader Melbourne community to contribute to your vision of a thriving Melbourne. Please join me in welcoming the Minister for an exciting announcement.
Thank you for that lovely welcome. Can I begin by acknowledging the traditional owners of the lands that we're meeting on this afternoon and pay my respects to elders past, present and emerging. There is a great number of you here today that I'd like to acknowledge. And first of all, can I just say that I know that I've only been the Multicultural Affairs Minister for a short period of time, but I've had the very great honour of meeting a number of you already, albeit through very difficult circumstances. And I hope that over the coming weeks, months and indeed years, we can continue to work together to make sure that Melbourne and Victoria's proud Jewish community has the support you need to feel safe and feel that you can continue to thrive as a community. You're an incredibly important part of our rich, diverse, cohesive society here in Victoria, and I do want to acknowledge that it's been an incredibly distressing time for each and every one of you and for all of your nearest and dearest, and it continues to be an incredibly distressing time, and I want you to know that the Victorian Government understands that and stands with you, and we will work together over the coming weeks and months to support you in any way that we can. So I do want to acknowledge that there are a large number of organisations and people here who contribute so much to Melbourne and Victoria's Jewish community. Can I thank very much Zionism Victoria, the Executive Director, Zeddy Lawrence, and I know there's a number of current and past board members here from Zionism Victoria, so thank you for coming along. I also want to thank the whole team at the Beth Wiseman Jewish Community Centre for hosting us today at relatively short notice, and thank you for the work that you do for your community. The Jewish Community Council of Victoria, I know you've had some recent leadership changes, but I want to acknowledge the President, Philip Zajac, and also Hayley Southwick, the new Vice President as well, thank you. And also, of course, the Melbourne Jewish Holocaust Museum, and I'll talk a little bit about that in a minute. Wonderful to have you here as well. And Rabbi Yaakov Glassman, thank you, Rabbi, and of course Rabbi Gabi Coleman as well, thank you for coming along. Where have you gone? Yeah. Rabbi Gabi, there you are. Thank you, and great to see you here today. I know that it's always dangerous calling out people and organisations, and I really apologise if I miss anybody. But I did want to acknowledge a number of members of Parliament who, if they're not here already, are on their way. But I can see Ryan Batchelor, my upper house colleague, and Ryan, of course, is a proud representative of the Southern Metropolitan Region, so thank you, Ryan, for coming along today. And Nick Stakos, who is the member for Bentley, but also my Parliamentary Secretary for Multicultural Affairs and also Parliamentary Secretary to the Premier. And Nina Taylor, who's the, as you all know, the member for Albert Park. It is really wonderful to be able to come along today. I think we've also got some representatives from the Glen Ira Council. The Mayor and councillors are here. Thank you very much for coming along. It's an important day today, and I want to thank many of you in the room who have been discussing with my office, with my department, and also of course with the Premier's office and the Deputy Premier's office, the importance of making sure that the election commitments that we made in November last year, which doesn't that feel like a terribly long time ago, but in November last year we made some important commitments around supporting our Jewish communities with anti-Semitism funding and to give community the ability to campaign and work towards a Victoria that is free from anti-Semitism and free from any form of racism or hate. So I'm really pleased to be able to announce today that we will be Victoria's Jewish communities to the tune of $3 million. And these programs, primarily these programs have been brought to the government by all of you. But we recognise that you understand the measures that need to be pursued and put in place to get the best possible outcomes for the community, and so we have, I hope, been very responsive to those calls. The funding to support Victoria's Jewish communities will be provided to the consortium, which consists of the Jewish Community Council of Victoria, Zionism Victoria, and the Community Security Group, to the tune of $1.97 million. And this is very important work, and I know that you'll be doing a number of important things, including enhanced local anti-Semitism data collection, which I think is a very important thing to pursue, targeted information programs to combat anti-Semitism, targeted grassroots activities to address anti-Semitism, including raising awareness of our Victorian legal framework and the existing reporting pathways. But I know that a number of you have had important conversations with the Attorney General, Jacqueline Symes, about the work that we are doing in terms of the anti-vilification legislation and the fact that they are under review currently, and I know that the Jewish community representatives will feed in very strongly to that work. And I know that Jack Symes has had some really good conversations with many of you already. Of course, I'm also very mindful that we can never forget the past, and it's so incredibly important to continue to make sure that history is not forgotten or papered over. And that's why I'm very proud that the package includes funding to the Melbourne Holocaust Museum, and that will be solely dedicated, of course, to the Holocaust education and remembrance, but also to deliver tailored education programs to combat anti-Semitism. So we'll be funding the museum to the tune of $752,000. All of the organisations involved in this work have got, you've all got wonderful, strong connections with your community, and that's why you are best placed to drive these programs and to receive this funding. And I think that it's critically important that in Victoria, we are a proudly multicultural community. We have representatives from over 200 countries who have made Victoria their home. You know, we speak 260 different languages in Victorian homes, and we practice 135 different faiths. And this is a precious thing, but it has to be protected and guarded. And I know that you are all so committed to doing so in the context of some of the terrible things that have been happening globally, but also sadly here in Victoria as well. And so we stand with you to make sure that we always call out inappropriate behaviour, that we stand against any form of racism, vilification or hate speech, And I know that this funding will go a long way to supporting the community to do that important work. But I do want to make sure that you understand that we are also here to work with you on an ongoing basis. And my door is always open, and I really appreciate how open and honest you've all been with me so far in the few short weeks that I've been the Minister for Multicultural Affairs. And Nick Staples has arrived now, so thank you, Nick, for coming along today. We did acknowledge you a little earlier. I'm also the Minister for Mental Health, and I have had many conversations with our diverse communities over the last few weeks about the impacts that these terrible events have had on many people's mental well-being in the community. So again, I would just urge you to reach out if you see a particular need that's not being met. We have got a lot of wonderful mental health supports in place in our health system in Victoria, but we can always do more. So if there are particular needs that you identify, please do reach out. Just to wrap up, I hope that you know how important it is to the Victorian Government to continue to stand with you at a particularly difficult time for the whole community. I really want you to understand that this is a deeply felt thing, and we understand that, and we are absolutely committed to working with you to combat anti-Semitism and hate in all its forms. But it's also a time that I think has shown the enormous strength of the Jewish community in how you have wrapped your arms around each other, and I commend the leaders in your community for being able to show that leadership and to provide that comfort, and I hope that this goes some way to help the community feel that the Victorian Government is there to provide that support and that comfort as well. So thank you very much for having me along today.